So, you mentioned RT.
They are bad people. Their faces, their voices, their stories. And I'm a victim of it also, because they manipulate better than anybody has ever manipulated. They control every aspect of American life. I spoke to Putin twice in my mind. It's always Russia, Russia, Russia.
Sie arbeiten rund um die Uhr.
Russia Today. Russia Today. Russia Today. Russia Today. C'est évident. C'est évident.
Putin's puppy. Lion, dog faced pony soldier. Russian interference. Never, never, never. Go to Joe 30330.
Здравствуйте, друзья. Меня зовут Борис.
It was back in 2005 that Archie burst into broadcasting life, and it's fair to say since those humble beginnings, we've made something of an impression on the world.
Fellow citizens, the red peril is gone, but another eastern threat is growing. The green menace, and the target is you. Russia's weapon of mass communication is spreading globally, increasing its power and impact radius. Megatons of propaganda from TVs, computers, and mobile devices. More than 12 billion contaminated content views on YouTube affect your mind. Protect against alternative vision. Act fast. If you start to question more, evacuate. Seek shelter. Isolate the contaminated. Trust only in approved media. Stay undercover until it is safe outside. If you get exposed to RT active waves, decontaminate your mind. Wash out your eyes, ears, and brain. Make everything clear. Get checked out. Now you can defend yourself and your loved ones from the weapon of mass communication. Protect from RT. Don't give the enemy a single view.
During our 15 years on air, RT has been reporting on major events around the globe, ensuring that voices are heard on all sides. As part of our anniversary coverage today, here's a look back at RT's focus on the UK and the Julian Assange saga.
Do you remember when Julian Assange was dragged out of London's Ecuadorian embassy? The images are now iconic, or rather notorious. Our video agency, Ruptly, worked round the clock for weeks, constantly monitoring this building in order to make sure that the Ecuadorian government's eviction of the WikiLeaks founder, as well as his simultaneous arrest by the British police, was captured for all the world to see.
They must resist. UK resist.
The channel's reporters also worked tirelessly, but I would say that, to bring viewers news on a story that the establishment and the mainstream media was keen to forget.
Holed up inside the Ecuadorian embassy in London for years on end, he has hurdle after hurdle to overcome.
Julian Assange was found guilty by a pretty scathing judge.
Could carry a maximum sentence of 175 years behind bars.
2 police officers and a prosecutor from Quito that are going to be here going through his things.
There are thousands of supporters here in the middle of central London.
Incredibly important day for both truth and justice, as WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange is back here in court.
Julian Assange had been exposed to several forms of cruel, inhuman and degrading treatment which cumulatively can only be described as psychological torture.
In fact, Julian Assange had his own show on RT UK. RT gave the WikiLeaks editor that platform.
Today, we're on a quest for revolutionary ideas that can change the world tomorrow.
But then again, according to think tanks and the mainstream media, RT has bred an army of useful idiots. Useful idiots including Jeremy Corbyn, Nigel Farage, the President of Afghanistan, Hamid Karzai, and Rudy Giuliani.
One very clear thing that you could do is stop appearing on Russia Today, which has been described by one of your own ministers as a Kremlin propaganda vehicle.
And I think that's right, because I think from what we're seeing from Russian Today at times goes beyond objective journalism.
Oh wait, this is good. Boris Johnson attacked Labour MPs for doing interviews on RT before learning that his father Stanley had appeared on the channel on numerous occasions.
I do notice how you do take sides in this book. What does this mean? Or take Harry Stokes, the ebullient, blonde-haired former mayor of London. Harry was absolutely living up to the high expectations people had of him, wowing the crowds wherever he went. He could be serious, too, if it was absolutely necessary. Who is this former mayor of London character in the book?
Look, I'm not saying that that particular character is a million miles away from another member of my family.
It's not just the guests, though. One headline accuses RT of spreading a multitude of lies and absurd stories. Sure, if you call absurd the stories and the perspectives that the other news channels aren't showing. Back in 2014, RT covered the Scottish independence referendum. Some reports alleged that at Moscow's request, so-called operatives had stoked the flames of independence, if that's what you call reporting both sides of the debate, not just the pro-union side that dominated the mainstream media. 2 years later, the accusations came flying again. This time, RT had poured oil onto the anti-EU fire by reporting on what was happening around the country, not just on the thoughts of those in the Westminster bubble. Fishermen in Scotland, farmers in Kent, industrial workers in the Midlands, all of them told us the same thing. When the banking crash happened, London may have recovered, but they'd been left behind. But giving a voice to the people that weren't being listened to was apparently Russian propaganda. As was RT's reporting of a whistleblower's concerns about safety on the Trident nuclear submarines. And the Occupy protests, remember them? RT covered the movement on an almost daily basis in the wake of the 2008 banking crash. And what about the crippling austerity cuts of the Cameron years? RT brought you stories from the demonstrations against them and from the people and the organisations most affected by them.
That's been our breakdown of the day's top news for now. Thanks for tuning in wherever you may be.